Welcome to this summary session of the 6th Adhyaya. We start with the gratitude of the Lord and towards the Guru Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved, protected and transmitted from generations so that it can reach us. And I pay my respects to our Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you all. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are talking of the 6th Adhyaya, which is called the Dhyana Yoga and also called the Atma Sanyama Yoga. Atma Sanyama, here Atma, the word Atma means our Antakarana, with the entire Upadhi, the Sharir, Mana, Prana, Indriya, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, all these entire Upadhi of our self that we understand as our Jiva or our self is what here the word Atma means, Atma Sanyama. And this Sanyama of this entire Upadhi or the entire Karya Karana Sanghata, that is our own self that we understand as a Jiva, that Sanyama is very important if you want to actually go into Dhyana Yoga, and meditation is not possible without this Sanyama of the Sharir, Mana, Indriya. And that's why Krishna talks about these Sanyama in this Adhyaya, and he also talks about the spiritual journey. In the Adhyaya 2nd, Krishna gave us the knowledge, the Atma Jnana, the Brahma Jnana, what is Atma, what is Anatma, what do we need to understand. And then he started with the sadhana. The 3rd Adhyaya was the Karma Yoga description and a lot of manana of whatever he has already explained to us. Akarta Swarupa was done in the 4th and the 5th Adhyaya. How can we do Karma Yoga with this understanding that we are the Akarta, our Atma Swarupa is Akarta, and how we can understand this and go towards Karma Sannyasa. Now, the next step of this Jnana Sadhana Nishtha is to understand or assimilate this knowledge within ourselves, and this is what is called as the Dhyana. And in this Adhyaya, Lord Krishna talks about the Vedantic meditation, which is also called the Nididhyasana. And this helps to assimilate this knowledge, to get this understanding, this knowledge, so that we can use it in our life. Atmasada of this Shravana that we have done from Guru Mukha, Sri Krishna, which he has already given us this knowledge. So whatever we have heard, we have to make it steady in ourselves, so that, and this is not easy because there are a lot of Viparit Sanskara which is called Viparyaya, and this have to be taken care, this have to be changed in the Dhyana. So this is what is actually the Vedantic meditation, the Nididhyasana, and these are some important aspects of Dhyana that Lord Krishna talks about in this Adhyaya. And not only body but our mind has to be very still, very quiet for us to get into this meditation and assimilate this knowledge, this Shravana, what we have done, so that we can make it one with ourselves and live accordingly. So in a nutshell, giving us a brief overview of the sadhana that Lord Krishna talks from the 2nd to the 5th Adhyaya is that Antakarana Shuddhi, inner purity, is the first goal. It's the first step we have to achieve, and that has to be achieved by Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga Sadhana. So this is the Yoga Sadhana, and the first station, the first step, the first goal is Antakarana Shuddhi, because we cannot go directly to Gnana. Gnana, it comes only if there is the precondition to Gnana is Antakarana Shuddhi. Without this Gnana, it is not possible to understand this Atma Gnana or knowledge. So these Ashuddhis have to be cleared from our inner self, which have been there for years together, for many lives together, and this has to be done by the Yoga Sadhana. And next, then we become eligible for the Jnana Sadhana. The Jnana Sadhana itself requires Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. These are the 3 steps to obtain Atma Jnana. And this Atma Jnana, once we have it assimilated very sthira, it causes Ajnana Nivrutti, and then it gives us the final fruit or the final liberation, the final mukti, moksha, freedom. That is the ultimate goal of the human life according to our Shastras. So dhyana can be of 2 types. One is before we do Vedanta Shravana, and this is the only the dhyana for getting eligibility, yogyata prapaka jnana. This could be japa, upasana, saguna dhyan, and this mainly makes us relax, improves our concentration, and improves our abundance attitudes. So basically this is the normal meditation that people do. But what is talked about in the Adhyaya 6 of Bhagavad Gita is the Afshar Shravana, when we want to actually get the Gnana Nishtha. So that is for obtaining the knowledge, for the self-knowledge. And this dhyana is called Nididhyasana. This dhyana is dhyana on our Swarupa, on our Atma Swarupa, on our self, on our Atma. And this is to establish the truth between Atma and Atma. This is to see this Viveka and to make this very clear. So this is to change our old impressions, our sanskaras from anatma and go towards Atma, to change all our bhrantis, our beliefs, our misconceptions have to be changed, and we have to establish ourselves in the truth that is given in the Sri Bhagavad Gita by Lord Shri Krishna. So in the 5th Adhyaya, which is the Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Lord Krishna talks about Sankhya Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and says both of them are good. Karma Yoga is even better for people, most of the seekers like us, because it is easier for us to practice rather than renouncing the karmas. And he gives the Karma Yogi ke lakshan, and then talks about Gnana and how with this Gnana and with this understanding we can have a Karma Sannyasa. So that is the main subject matter. But in the last 3 shlokas of 5th Adhyaya, Lord Krishna talks about this dhyana. He starts his 6th Adhyaya actually on the 27th shloka of the 5th Adhyaya, where he starts talking about the dhyana, because this is the link to the 6th Adhyaya. So let us start with those 3 shlokas for this summary. And he gives a brief description of a dhyana yoga in this 27th shloka of the 5th Adhyaya. Sparshan krutva bahir bhayhan chakshush chevai vantare bhuvoho pranapanau samau krutva nasabhyantara charino. So he gives a brief description. He says, Sparshan krutva, Indriya Sparsh se jo bhi outer objects, we understand their bhana jo hota hai, that we have to keep them outside. So during meditation, we don't have to think about outer objects. And he says we have to focus our eyes in the center of our eyebrows, that is the area of the Ajna Chakra. Of course, these are the closed eyes, not with the open eyes. We don't have to gaze there. But with our closed eyes, we have to focus on one area. It could be Hridaya Kamala, it could be Ajna Chakra. And we have to then keep our breath in balance, because breath, the prana and the mana have a direct correlation. If we focus, be aware on our breath, then with this awareness, our mind will also become more calm, cool, and it will then we'll be able to go into meditation. In the 2nd shloka, he says, Yatendriya mano buddhihi munir moksha parayanaha vigatecha bhaya krodho yah sada mukta evasa. So here he talks about the meditator, the person who does the meditation, what that person should be, what should be his attributes, and what are the benefits of meditation. So he says, this person must have his senses, indriya, mana, buddhi, everything under control. Yata chittendra, mana, buddhihi, everything must be under control. And he says he must be, this muni, he must be moksha parayana. Matlab, he must be having a goal to become free. That must be his goal. And then vigat, ichha, bhaya, krodha. All his ichhas, all his desires, bhaya and krodha. All these 3 things must have left him, because only then he will be able to sit down in meditation. And this muni, when he keeps on meditating, he will become mukta, sada mukta evasa. He will become free from all the bondages and he will become jivan mukta. And in the final shloka of the 5th Adhyaya, Lord Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surudam sarvabhutanam gnatva mam shanti mruchati. So this is the final shloka when he gives his own swarupa as a saguna. So Padik Karta Bhokta Swarupa, he says he is the Bhokta, beneficiary of all the yagna tapa. Whatever we do, everything goes to him. He is the Lord of all the beings, and he is the friend, Suruda, of all beings without any expectation. Suruda Sarva Bhutanam. He says, if somebody knows me in this way, that I am Sarvagnya like this, then he achieves his eternal bliss. He obtains Shanti Mruchati, Param Shanti. He can obtain Aikya and Samadhi Avastha, that Shanti, that inner Sukh, inner happiness, inner peace that he obtain. He will get that kind of a peace by knowing God in this way. So with this, the 5th Adhyaya ended and the 6th Adhyaya starts. Let us just go through the short summary of the 6th Adhyaya. In the first 2 shlokas, it compares Karma Yogi with the Sannyasi and praises the Karma Yogi. And then in the 3rd Adhyaya, 3rd shloka of the 6th Adhyaya is a very, very important shloka. It is who is eligible for karma and who is eligible for jnana or nivritti. That is what Lord Krishna, Sampurnapane, he clears the doubt of Arjuna forever, because Arjuna has been asking this question in the 3rd Adhyaya and in the 5th Adhyaya also. And then 4th Adhyaya he says, who is this Yoga Ruda person? 5th and the 6th Adhyaya he talks about the self-efforts, the firm resolution, Atmanya Atmana, Uddhared Atmanat Atmanam. And in the 7th and 8th shlokas he talks about the Yukta Yogi. In the 9th shloka he talks about the Samatva Yogi, what kind of vision that Samatva Yogi has. And from the 10th to the 17th shlokas, there are many instructions that Lord Krishna gives, except for 2 shlokas in between where he shows the phala of dhyana. And then in the 18th, 19th shlokas, he talks about the Yukta Yogi, compares this with the deep states of meditation with the Yatha Dipo Nivatasto. And then finally the bliss of the Yog Samadhi, the climax, the zenith of meditation. And then he says, 23rd shloka, what is yoga? Tam vidya dukkha sayogam, yoga. So that is where we will stop today in this session. So we'll talk about the first 23 shlokas of the 6th Adhyaya. So let us start with the first shloka of the 6th Adhyaya. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasanyasi cha yogi cha naniragnirna chakriyaha. So here in this shloka, Lord Krishna talks about Karma Yoga, which is very important, because unless we have done Karma Yoga, Kartavya Karma, we have already left all the fruits of attachment by doing Ishvara Arpana, Bhavana, Prasada Buddhi, whatever we accept, we have a total acceptance as if we are accepting this as a prasad from the Lord. So such a Karma Yogi, he says, is actually a sannyasi. There is no difference. He is a true yogi because both of them perform Tyaga. Tyaga is, according to Lord Krishna, which is, inner attribute, is even more important rather than that person being a sannyasi or he has taken up orange clothes and he's become a renunciate. That is not important. The outer appearance is not important. According to Krishna, the inner sannyasa, the Tyaga Bhavana inside our mind, it is more important. Even that person is a Grihastha or that person is a sannyasi, but the Tyaga is the important thing for him. So this Karma Yoga leads us to Antakarana Shuddhi, and this person only with this Antakarana Shuddhi can go for this kind of a dhyana or the Jnana Abhyasa. So Karma Yogi is a person who is has Karma Phala Tyaga because he has a Prasada Buddhi. He has given away he thinks that Karma is my department, Karma Phala is the God's department. He gives me this Karma Phala, so he is not worried about Karma Phala. So he has done a Tyag of the Karma Phala. Whereas Sannyasi, he has done a Vidhivat Tyag of all the Karma, all the worldly karmas he has renunciated and he has become a sannyasi. But in both this, the common thing is the Tyaga, and that is what Krishna sees. And that's why he compares both these and says that both of them are the same. Karma Yoga has done Raga Dvesha Shithilikaran, his Antakaran has become Shuddha, because this is the only way we can enter into the Jnana or the Dhyana Sadhana. And if the mind has lots of ups and downs, a lot of emotional upheavals, then this mind doesn't never become ready for Dhyana, because when we do Dhyana, all those upheavals, all those emotional upheavals, Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, all this will come up in our Dhyana Kala, and this will not allow us to go deep into meditation. The second shloka, he says, Yam sanyasamiti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava naya sanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. So, in the earlier adhyayas, Lord Krishna talked about two Jivan Paddhatis or lifestyles, Jnana and Karma. And here he says that both of them are the same. Sannyasa is the same as the Karma Yoga, he says. And he says, one who has not given up all his desires, he can never become a yogi. So according to Lord Krishna, Sannyasa Sankalpa, Sankalpa Tyaga or Sankalpa Sannyasa is the most important thing. We have to renounce all our desires, unnecessary desires we have about worldly issues. So this we have to renounce. So Tyaga is important, but what? Tyaga of what? Tyaga of all our desires, Sankalpa Tyaga, Sankalpa Sannyasa. This is what is important. And then the Karma Yogi will be as elevated as a sannyasi, he says. So Karma Yoga is the most important sadhana for all of us. It achieves the purification of mind, it causes Antakarana Shuddhi, because there are many obstacles on our worldly path as well as on our spiritual path. And most of the times we believe that those enemies, those obstacles are outside, but most of the times we have to understand that they are all in us, our wrong notions, our beliefs, our obsessions, our convictions, our belief systems. That has to be changed, and this has to be done with our own mind, which has to be cultivated so that it does not keep complaining about things or circumstances happening outside. And we have to start accepting all the eventualities, all the results, with the understanding that I cannot change anyone else around, but I can change my own self. Though it is difficult, but I should endeavor to change my own self and avoid being judgmental, because human beings tend to be more judgmental about things good and bad, and all these raga creates raga dvesha. So we have to focus in our goal. Everything else should be given less importance, because most of the times the Mahatva Buddhi in the Sansarik or the world is the main obstacle for us to go into these deeper planes. And that's why only with this quiet mind we can enter into the meditation which is possible. And for this, purification of the mind is essential. Raga Dvesha Vritti is essential. And for this, Karma Yoga is the best method for obtaining this Shuddhi. Third shloka, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanamuchyate Yogarudhasya Tasyaiva Shama Karanamuchyate. So with this shloka, Lord Krishna brings end to the Arjuna's dilemma, whether karma, when it should be done, when shama or when jnana or nivrutti should be done. And here Lord Krishna very clearly says for Aruruksha. Aruruksha means for a muni who is, who desires to ascend on the path of yoga, who is arud hone ke liye tayar hai. He is still going on the ascending on the path of yoga. Karma yoga is the best means for him. Somebody wants to achieve a lot of things from this world. He wants to, still achieve. He has still many desires. For most of us, we want to achieve something. We have ambitions. For us, Karma yoga is the means. But for one who has already firmly established, who has become arud in the yoga, who has become yoga rudha, who has become arud, means he is already firmly established in yoga. He has already reached that stage where he doesn't have much expectations or desires from this world. For him, karma nivrutti, dhyana sadhana, jnana sadhana is the means. He can become shama. For him, shama karana muchyate, karma shama is the means for this kind of a person. So the problems in us are our ashuddhis, which have to be cleared first before we get onto the jnana or the dhyana sadhana. And according to our shastras, there are 4 types of ashuddhis. Anadi karma. We have been doing karma for many lives, many years. And all these karmas may be shuddha, may be ashuddha, may be papa, may have created punya. And all these creates a lot of sanskaras in us. The pancha klesha includes avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. A lots of vasanas, our desires, lust, a lot of maybe hidden or maybe, jagrata. And all these, and the vishaya jal, the attraction of the outer objects, which creates our asakti, our moha, attachments, and a lot of mahatva buddhi in the sansar around. So all these are our problems, and the solutions are 3: tapa, swadhyaya, and ishwar pranidhana. According to yoga shastra, these are the 3 ways we can take care of these ashuddhis. By tapa, we can give endurance to our body. With swadhyaya, we can shuddhi or purify our mind. And ishwara pranidhan, we can surrender our ego and go close to the divine. So with this, we can actually get into this mode. And in the 4th shloka, Lord Krishna gives us the 3 attributes of a yoga rudha person. He actually defines who is the yoga rudha, for whom shama karana uchyate. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karma svanusachyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhastatochyate. He says when na indriyartharshu, there is no attraction in the sense objects. It means that indriya are under sanyam. Outer objects, even if we see them, we are not attached to them. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi means we have control over our na karma svanusachyate. We do lots of activities, actions all throughout the day, but we don't get attached to those actions or activities. That is restraint over our body. And Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi means we have renounced all the worldly desires. Sarva Sankalpa, all kinds of Sankalpa, that signifies a control over our mind. So control over Indriya, mind and body is important, and those people are only considered as Yoga Rudha, and they can have a Shama Karana Uchyate. For them, they can enter into Dhyana or the Jnana Sadhana. In this shloka, it's a very beautiful shloka. Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So here Lord Krishna clearly says that the main responsibility for all the efforts on any of these paths is mind. May it be worldly ambitions or may it be spiritual goals, the responsibility is of the seeker, and we have to make the efforts to become yoga root. Nobody else is going to make efforts for us. So he says, elevate yourself by your own self and don't let yourself down. You are your friend and you are your own enemy. So that's a very beautiful statement, and he further explains. And in our Shastras it says there are 4 kinds of krupa, but Atma Krupa, our own Krupa on ourselves, is the most important. Ishwar Krupa, Guru Krupa, Shastra Krupa will definitely help us only if we have Atma Krupa. Means that if we try our best, then Shastra is going to help us, Guru is going to help us, Ishwar is going to help us. But first we have to help our own self, and that is Atma Krupa. Means we have to walk on the way, that the way which has been shown to us with continuous efforts, with persistence, with patience and with perseverance. So all these is needed in any path, may it be worldly ambitions or spiritual goals. Constantly we have to keep making efforts by our own self. So that is Atma Krupa. And Atma Krupa essentially means 2 things. One, having a lot of self-confidence that yes, I can do it, I can achieve it. And second is Atma Sanyam, having a self-control. Because unless this is there, we cannot, purify ourselves and cannot achieve what we want to achieve. So Uddhared Atmana Atmanam means elevate yourself by your own self, and that shows that the responsibility is mine, and our own false beliefs, misconceptions are our main problems which we have to change. We have a lot of granthi, a lot of complexes, like somebody may have a superiority complex or an inferiority complex, or we may be attached to our body, our mind. A lot of these granthis in ourselves have to make changes. Changes don't happen overnight. Here on any of these paths, the change happens very, very gradually. It's a small change, a slow change, and we have to keep doing it. We have to be prepared for the hard work for a long period of time, and with this, and we have to make sure that we are on the right track by doing daily self-introspection, which will help us to remain on the track. Similarly, we should not let our own self down. Atmanam na avasadayet. We should be open for change, avoid negative thoughts, negative actions that bring us down. Whatever time, opportunity we have, we must make our efforts to reach towards our goal. Should not think low, do not have a low self-esteem, have a large amount of self-confidence. We should not take shortcuts, but we must know that whatever needs to be done, we should not remain lazy. We should make the best use of time. And even if we have obstacles, when we fall, we should get up, rise and start again, walking again. And with this kind of a self-confidence, enthusiasm, persistent efforts, charaiveti, that is what our Shastras tell us, means keep walking on the path, and one day you will reach your goal. And in this shloka, the next shloka, Lord Krishna explains how the mind can be our best friend or it can be our enemy. For whom the mind is the friend or for whom the mind is the enemy. Bandhuratmana tastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varte tatmaiva shatruvata. He says the mind-body complex is a friend for one who has achieved victory over his body, mind and intellect. So somebody who has achieved this jita, he has jit, atmana jitaha, means he has achieved a victory over his own body, mind and complex. That person, for them, he becomes his own friend. And for a person who does not have this kind of a control, a self-restraint over his mind, over his indriya, for that person, the mind becomes one's own enemy because it becomes lazy, creates a lot of obstacles onto this path. So in sadhana, in this journey, what we have to do is actually handle or manage our own mind. And mind is very sukshma. It's very difficult to understand. We've never been aware about the mind, how to handle the mind. We have never thought about it, and that's the problem. So we have to make our mind our friend. But for that, we have to start communicating with our mind. And to communicate with our mind, we have to understand that I and my mind are separate. They are away, so that I can actually see, because I can see all the thoughts which come up in the mind. I am the awareness, I am the sakshi, I am separate from my mind. This understanding has to come first. And then with this, we have to control our senses. And this new kind of understanding can come only if we listen to satsanga, read our scriptures, have some good reading, then only this kind of understanding can come. Because world that has been created by the Lord is very beautiful creation, which has not been created with all these raga dvesha, which are all our own creation. And that's why we have to do a lot of introspection daily, so that this can help us to progress on our path. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. So if somebody has all these self-restraint, controls his mind, indriyas, mana, what happens? What does he get? What is the benefit? So for him, divinity he is established. He can establish divinity in his own self because his antakaran becomes shuddha, and he can achieve param samatva in all the dualities of the body, mind, and he can develop victory over his body and his mind. So over all these dualities we can achieve samatva. Samatva is said that it is part of our sadhana, and samatva is also part of our goal, because when we reach sahaj samatva, when we develop the goal Brahma, Atma, it is also a sama, and that's why it is a sahaj samatva for the jnanis also. In the next shloka, Shri Krishna says, Jnana vijnana truptatma kutastho vijitendriyaha Yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshtasma kanchanaha. So for a person who has been firmly established in this wisdom, which is gnana and vijnana. Vijnana means he has already experienced this wisdom or this knowledge which he has assimilated in his own self. And one who has, this can only be achieved by a person who has conquered his own self. He is a vijitendriya, who has already jit over his indriya, mana. And for that person, what is his vision? His vision is samaloshtashma kanchana. He sees oneness in sand, mitti, stones, pathar and kanchana, sonu, suvarna. So he has a samabuddhi where his vision is not on the shape or the forms, but actually his vision is more on the adhisthana or the substratum, so that he sees the oneness amongst all the things that we see in the world as different. And this integrated person, yukta, ityuchyate yogi, this integrated personality who has made one his body, mind, soul, all becomes one, he is called a yogi. So that is the vision of Shri Krishna. The next shloka he says, Suhran mitraryudasina madhyastha tveshya bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. So he also sees samadarshi in all the living beings. In the previous shloka he says samadarshana in all the jada padartha, but here he says all the chetan padartha like Suran, Mitra, Ari, Udasina, Madhya, Dvesha, all this friend, food, detached person, mediator, family, rival, saints, sinners, in all them he can see the oneness, because he doesn't see that attributes, he doesn't see the anatma, his vision is on the atma, the adhishtan, the chaitanya, the atma of all the people. And that's why this is a kind of the vision which is a very unique vision, and everywhere he says, and such person according to Lord Krishna, he is a vishishyate, he is a unique person, that he has a sameness of vision everywhere. Now from the 10th shloka onwards, it starts giving us some important instructions for meditation. It says, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. So it says, Yogi yunjita satatam. Yogi should do yoga by becoming a yogi. And it says satatam, we have to continuously do this yoga sadhana. It has to be continued indefinitely till we reach to the goal. And how do we have to do it? It says atmanam rahasi stitaha. We have to contemplate on the atma. Ekaki yata chittatma, by keeping our entire mind under control without any expectation. Nirashi aparigraha, being a non-possessor, and we have to sit in isolation. Sitting in isolation, we have to do this yoga sadhana. It says, Shuchau deshe pratisthapya stiramasana matmanaha natyuchritam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram. So in this first instruction, he says the outer preparations for dhyana, that in a Shuchau deshe, clean place, we pratisthapya, we position ourselves, and the asana must be established. Neither natyuchritam nati nicham, not too high, not too low from the ground level, and there must be some kind of asana. Cotton asana is good enough, but he says 3 layers on grass, and on that there is a deer skin, and then there is a cotton. But a simple asana which is not too hard, not too soft, which can allow us to do meditation for a long period of time, is what he's trying to tell us. tatraikagram manah krutva yata chittendriya kriyah upavishasane yunjat yogamatma vishuddhaye. He says here, now the goal, the mind has to be very steady, and this meditation has to be done for purity of the mind, for the inner purity. So he says one has to sit on this seat with the focusing of the mind. Tatre kagram, ekagra mana is the most important for meditation, he says, and bringing a halt to all the thoughts of our mind. Yata chittendriya kriya, all the chitta indriya kriya has to come to a halt, and we have to yunjat yogam atma vishuddhaye. It has to be done for the purification of our inner self, and that is the practice of meditation. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayanna chalam stiraha samprekshya nasikagram swam dishashchanavalokayan. So here he describes the body posture. Shri Krishna says that we must keep kaya, shira, griva, all these three, back, neck and head, all three in a straight line, and we should keep our body very steady, no movements of the hands, limbs, anything. And by seeing the center of our eyebrows, without seeing any other direction, we should close our eyes and concentrate. That is what we need to do during our meditation. Prashantatma vigatabihi brahmachari vrate stitaha manah sanyamya machitto yukta asita matparaha. Here it describes the condition of the mind, that it should be prashantatma, it should be very quiet mind, free from all vigatabihi, from all the fears, established in the sense control, brahmachari vrata, by restraining the mind and concentrating on me, manasayama machitto, and keeping me as a final goal, yukta asita matparaha. So this person who is an integrated personality, yukta, and he sits in meditation like this. And then what are the benefits? In 2 shlokas it describes what is the benefit that you will get by doing this meditation. Yunjan devam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasaha shantim nirvana paramam matsanstamadhigacchati. So in this way, by following all these previous instructions, if a yogi does meditation by keeping his mind under control, nirantara, continuously keeps on doing this, continuously engages in the meditation of his own inner self, his Atma Swarupa, and then he will achieve Shantim Nirvana Paramam, Paramam Shanti, Param Shanti, he will get this eternal peace of his own Swarupa, Matsanstam Adhigacchati, he achieves his own Atma Swarupa and gets this profound peace that is within us. And the next 2 shlokas, it talks about the lifestyle, what is the kind of lifestyle that we need for this meditation. Natya shnatastu yogosti nachaikanta manashnataha nachati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. He says we need a balanced lifestyle for meditation. One who eats too much or one who eats too little, both of these people are not able to meditate. Similarly, one who sleeps too much or one who keeps awake for a long period of time, both these people are also not able to meditate. So in view of Shri Krishna, we must have a very balanced lifestyle. Our eating, our sleeping, everything must be properly, regularly controlled. A balanced lifestyle is must if we really want to enter into dhyana sadhana. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So who is the most benefited from this dhyana yoga? He says one whose food, ahara, vihara, activities, and whose cheshta, all his actions, activities are all balanced, and who has a swapna bodhasya, means who is having adequate sleep. For such person, yoga will be bhavati dukkha. It will, all this dukkha, it will mitigate all the miseries and he will get his own Atma Swarupa Sukha. So this middle path, the balanced lifestyle, is most important for dhyana yoga. And then now he describes the state of the mind as it goes deep into meditation. What happens? Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva vatishthate nispruha sarvakamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada. So here he says, one whose mind is completely under control, chittam atmanyeva vatishthate nispruha sarvakamebhyo. He detaches from all the worldly objects by vairagya, by sarva sankalpa sannyasa, and atmani eva avatishthate, means he puts all his mind into his atma, steadies into atma. That is what we have to do in dhyana or in meditation, that we have to withdraw our mind from the anatma and put it back into our atma. And this yogi who can do this is called a Yukta Yogi. So this is a two-step process of meditation. What needs to be done? Nispruha sarva kamepyo, anatma, from all the worldly objects, we have to bring back our mind, and then atmani eva avatishtate, put it back in the atma. And for this we need two things, vairagya, and we need constant practice, abhyasa. So these are the two ways we can achieve this. And then he shows with an example of Deepa, what will be the stage of a yogi whose state of his mind when he is in deep meditation. During the climax of meditation, he compares this with a lighted lamp. And he says, Yatha Deepo Nivatasto Ningate Sopama Spruta Yogino Yata Chittasya Yunjato Yoga Matmanaha. So he says, just like a lighted lamp which remains in an airless place where it is covered by some glass and there is not much air, so he remains very, very steady. It does not waver at all. Similarly, a yogi's mind, when he is deep in meditation, he is a very steady mind that does not waver because it is focused on his Atma. So that is the example. And in this yoga, as we have to take our mind from Anatma into Atma, there are many, many obstacles to the progress. And most of these are either physical disabilities, disease, or our physical laziness, alas, pramada, our negligence, we are not focused on the goal, laziness, mental are more obstacles, our laziness mentally, sanshaya, our doubts, avirati, we cannot sit in one place we have many activities to do, bhrantis, our misconceptions about dhyana, and we cannot progress in meditation, and we get a glimpse, but then we are not able to further progress in meditation. So these are all the obstacles to our progress that we need to take care if we have to reach to this state of Yatha Deepa Na Ingate, like a lighted lamp which does not waver. If we want to achieve this state of meditation, that Lord Krishna says we have to remove all these obstacles from our life. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. So these are again all deeper states of meditation, characteristics of a yogi who is now coming to the stage of divinity in the practice of meditation. When his mind becomes very, very still, with a pure mind, his intellect, he can see his own Atma Swarupa, his own self, and he remains completely satisfied. Because this is a Paripurna, our own Atma Swarupa is completely satisfied. It does not have yearnings for other things because there is a full satisfaction, and this yogi remains completely satisfied in his own self. It does not have any desires of obtaining any material comforts or any sukha from outside. Sukham atyantikam yattata buddhi grahayam atindriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam stitas chalati tattvataha. So this yogi who is into this deep state of meditation, who has understood his Atma Swarupa, what is the kind of benefit that he gets? He gets his inner bliss, which is Sukham Atyantikam. It is the Atyantik Sukha. It is the eternal bliss which can never be compared to the sense pleasures that we get from outside. The sense pleasures which you get through the Indriya, those are very, very transient. Those are like called the pieces of happiness. They are like Tukda Sukha, which are very transient. They come and go, Adhyantavantaha. Whereas this Sukha that is achieved by this yogi is the inner bliss, which is the Atyantik Sukha, which is experienced by him with his own purified mind, intellect. It cannot be achieved. It is Atendriya. Cannot be achieved by the Indriya. It is achieved by his own Buddhi, Yata Buddhi Grahyam. It is Atendriyam, and which is his own state of happiness, and it does not waver from this state. Chalati stitas chalati na tattvataha. So once he knows this tattva, his sthiti never becomes going away or waver from this. And these are the types of sukha that our shastras talk. The Vishaya Sukha, which is from outside, it could be through the Indriya, Mana, or by our Abhiman Sukha. Laya Sukha that we get in the sleep. Samadhi Sukha that yogis get in their state of the climax. But the best Sukha is the Atyantik Sukha that a Brahmagnani or a Gnani gets, which is by his own Gnana, which is Nitya, and which is part of his own inner self. So this kind of Sukha is independent of any outer Jagata, Jiva, circumstances, objects, persons. It is independent of anything. It is his own inner Sukha that he gets, and which is the highest form of happiness. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. So greatest benefit, the phala of Atma Labha, knowing your own self, what is this? That after achieving this, he feels that he has nothing to achieve more. In his life, he has achieved everything. And he does not get perturbed from the greatest of pain. Gurunapi na vichalyate. Means the biggest pains or miseries come in his life, he does not get perturbed because he has understood this, that his real self is without any darat, dukkha. It is not there in his self. And that's why in this shloka, Lord Krishna says, Tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sanhitam sanishchayena yuktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa. And in the previous 3 shlokas, Lord Krishna says, you have to know this. By knowing this, you will get Atyantik Sukha. By knowing this, all the dukkhas will go away. Gurunapi vichalyate, all the big dukkha. So what is that I need to know? And Lord Krishna says here that you know tam vidya, that tam vidhi, that you should know what? That is what is the yoga. Tam vidya dukkha sanyoga, viyogam yoga sannitam, means dukkha sanyoga viyoga. So viyoga of the dukkha sanyoga is the yoga. And yoga sadhana have to be done with nishchayena, with a firm resolve, and it has to be done with a lot of enthusiasm, a nirvidna chetasa, so that without getting tired, only then we can go to this level where we can see that dukkha sanyoga, we can see it as a bhranti, as an illusion, and we can have a viyoga of this dukkha sanyoga to know what is yoga. Yoga means union, and viyoga means taking away, or disunion is the viyoga. So disunion or viyoga of the dukkha sanyoga is what is called as a yoga. We will explain this in the next session of the second summary in the next session. With this, we come to the end of the first summary session of the 6th Adhyaya. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.